Ed, do you? Well, yes. Do you feel less comfortable with people of different races? Would you say?
Certainly not individually. No.
Not individually.
Well, I think that it's natural, and it's just, I'm afraid it's just the way it is, that people like being in their evolutionary match, and their evolutionary match is to be around people that are similar to them. There were studies that indicated that when you are shown photographs of people of your own ethnicity who are strangers, then right, fine. Then if you compare that to showing you photographs of people of a different ethnicity that are strangers, it activates your amygdala, it activates this primitive part of the brain that's associated with fight and fright and flight. So this is a fact that people are more comfortable with people of their own ethnic group. This is just true.
Is it not a case where we could, of maybe perhaps we should fight biology in that sense, and to have a fairer society?
Well, I don't know that it makes it fairer. I think that you have to be realistic about biology. You can't fight. These are.
Well, you can. So you might want to just go masturbate in the corner somewhere biologically, right? But in society, that's probably not good if everybody does that, and so you hopefully behave.
Well, that may be the case, but certainly, on an individual level, I make a point of treating everybody the same. And I know that the research indicates that leftists don't do that. They alter how they talk with black people, let's say, because ultimately they think that they have lower IQ, and they think that, and they talk down to them. Now, one of the things that happened to me when I was in America, which was quite interesting, I can't remember whether I mentioned this to you when you were on my show, but I was in Detroit, and I was interviewing all these various black people, and one of them actually commented that no white person. I asked him directly about things like race difference and intelligence and whatever, and he said to me that a white person never talked to him like this before. And I was like, what do you mean? And he's like, well, I'm just talking to him directly, bluntly, and normally white people they don't do that.
But I agree with you. I mean, you're being
patronised by them.
You're being critical of the patronising woke way of talking to different minorities, and I totally agree with you on that. I don't like this idea at all. I mean, I'm wary of sounding naive, because I don't have the empirical evidence and these things. So I am wary of that, but I don't like this idea at all. And I feel like it's something, if that is the case, I mean, really what you're saying is unconscious bias, that the sort of woke unconscious bias is very real. And I just think, well, maybe so, because I do believe we have biases.
People are adapted to be with people that are similar to themselves, And you can see, even as a foreigner in Finland, I'm aware of it.
Yeah, but that's not a different skin color or anything. That's different culture, different history.
Different culture, but there's a certain different look. They know I'm not one of them.
I see.
I've been in cafes in Finland, in the areas where there's a Swedish minority, and I'm with other Finns, and the waitress speaks to them all, asks them what they want in Finnish, and then turns to me and asks in Swedish.
I see.
Because she knows I'm not. She can see.
Sure, but if had you been born in that country, you would adopt the same cultures and
even then, I think they would think I was because of the nose.
Because of the nose, quite possibly. I don't know. I certainly would like to think I don't feel less comfortable in areas of different ethnicities. But if you're talking about different ethnicities combined with socioeconomic factors and those kinds of things, maybe that does start. If it's a really difficult one, I think, with cause and correlation to prove anything here, because often minorities and people, they often are from lower socioeconomic backgrounds where there is more crime.
But no, but you can deal with that by just looking at brain scans and how people deal with photographs of just random strangers of different ethnic groups.
Well, yeah, but they might feel that way because of how they've been made to feel based on their history.
Yeah, but you wouldn't have some criminality with regard to, let's say, Jewish people or East Asians. There wouldn't be that association there, but it triggers the same sort of thing. So I think that it is something that it's built into us, and it's quite natural in any organism to select for those that are. I'm not saying natural is good. I'm just saying it's the way it is. Whether it's a moral question is not really of interest to me.
No,
I'm interested in what is the case.
I appreciate that about you. I think that I appreciate that about you, and you're not interested in the moral. You're interested in what is the case, and I think that is interesting.
So at a one-on-one level, I don't see why anybody would have any trouble interacting with people of different races. I mean, why on earth would you? And I don't understand those. For example, I've had on my show a friend of mine, Lipton Matthews. He's a Jamaican researcher, and a number of people have objected to this. They objected to me having an intelligent guy on my show to talk about whatever we were talking about just because he was black.
This is a concern.
And I found this incomprehensible. And similarly, I had an intelligent person on my show to talk about whatever it was to do with politics who happened to be transsexual. And I found it incomprehensible that the reaction of some people, which was that, what's the matter with you? How can you have this pervert on this troon?
I've had the same thing when I've gone on, say, Tim Paul's podcast, where just the whole comments were Jew, he's a Jew, and all of that.
Yeah, same thing. Yeah, I've had many Jewish people on my podcast, and the same thing. I'm like, why? What?
But what does that say? And I don't mean to sort of make you guilty by association, because I find that a terrible thing to do. But does it give you pause, considering that a lot of your audience?
My wife says this kind of thing to me. She says that your research is sort of helping, backing up the prejudices of racists. And I thought, but I don't care. It's I'm looking for what's empirically accurate. And some of my research, a lot of it indeed, indicates that woke dogmas and everything to do with it, environmental determinism, historical determinism, whatever, is wrong. It's a dogma, it's not scientific, it's anti-scientific, and it's wrong. But some of my research comes to conclusions that people that are right-wing don't like. And that, I think, shows the fact that I publish that research rather than suppress it, shows that I am intellectually honest. So if people got very upset with me that I said that the research indicates that Ashkenazi Jewish people have an average IQ in America have an average IQ of 112. They are,
is that high?
That's very high.
Okay.
As an average IQ, it's the most
And I think I'm even high for Ashkenazi Jews.
You may well be. Well, yeah, if it's 112, then that would be the average IQ of like a school teacher. So if you're higher than that. So you can see that, and that seems to me to be just it's fact. And you get these people that are like, that can't be true because that implies that the Jews are better than us. I'm like, no, it doesn't. It's not implying anything better or worse or anything. It's just a fact. And it's this fact value conflation that's a fundamental fallacy. And this autism. I had it the other day when I was on Richard's podcast and I was stating various facts about things. And this woman said, oh, I don't know. I mean, saying that women are less logical than men, I mean, that's not very reasonable, is it? I mean, you've got to take into account that if you say things that's going to hurt people's feelings. So, I mean, that's not a very reasoned or logical point to make. I was like, you're saying it's not logical for me to say that because it hurts people's feelings. You're just proving my point about the logic.
Prove the point.
So I think that I don't care about that, and that's what I was saying. Perhaps earlier we were talking about subclinical psychopathology. Okay. No, I don't care.
But here's the issue that you and
I shouldn't have to care.
Well, I'm making you care. No, look, here's the issue that you and I both face here is we do have, whether we like it or not, some quite right-wing or quite not so nice people following us and love bombing us. And we know from here's some studies I do know about, is that beliefs aren't really formed in the pursuit of accuracy or knowledge. We don't form our beliefs hoping to be right or whatever it might be, as much as we think we do. We form them based on the group around us and our peers and the pressure. Now, we'd both like to think that we're outside of that and above that, but we are humans and we are going to be affected by them. And that might lead us to a fact value situation where we end up making a value call over somebody like David Duke based on perhaps the history of our peers pressuring us in that sense.
Well, possibly, but I like to feel that I'm relatively resistant to that. I mean, I've got a study that I'm about to publish which shows that people that are transsexual have elevated IQ compared to people that are not. And I imagine that a lot of my followers might not like that. But I would rather sit down with a logical and reasonable leftist like Jim Flynn than a person who agrees with me for all the wrong reasons.
I think that's a great point.